Welcome to Visual Knowledge. 3 reasons to love Albert Camus. Albert is a French philosopher and author. He has expressed ideas on suicide, the world being absurd, the game of life, ethics, justice, freedom, and much, much more. Now, Albert, in the myth of Sisyphus, addresses contemplation of the concept of suicide. After deep analysis, life has no meaning. The premise is that contrary to beliefs in religion, we are just evolved organisms, or just a massive collection of atoms, and within this package there is no purpose in life, no set directions, no karma, etc. From Albert's perspective, we must acknowledge that life is absurd. Now think about the definition of absurd: wildly unreasonable, illogical and inappropriate. Therefore we should acknowledge this absurdity and cope as well as we can. And Albert lived by example, an attractive and stylish gentleman that reflects someone making the most out of life, whether it's his philosophical insights, his publications, and not to mention, he had a very active sex life. But even though he had these things, he still acknowledged the scenery of hopelessness and absurdity. So we have 3 phases. We contemplate suicide, we acknowledge that life is meaningless, and then we endeavour to triumph while acknowledging the premise of absurdity. Now, this book explores the concept of remorse and penitence. For example, when the main character's mum dies, he shows no remorse or emotion. These are actions of a man that is a stranger to society's expectations. Therefore, in the end, he is not just condemned for his future murder, he is also condemned by society for not being a product of society's rules, or to paraphrase Albert, he does not play the game. I suspect that from the philosophical glasses of Albert, this game of social expectation and rules would be absurd and hopeless, just like everything else. However, this present of knowledge reveals a narrative that shows us there is a created game and there is an expectation from society to play by these rules. Now, The Plague is a novel by Albert, which not surprisingly is about a plague. Now, before the plague, the characters were quote-unquote free. But this narrative challenges that they were not free, as they were enslaved by the habits of the system. Think of it like this: when you go to work, you have to be there at a specific time, and you have to complete certain duties. Also, most jobs follow a chain of command, meaning that a colleague answers to an assistant manager, who answers to a manager, who then answers to a regional manager, etc. Now, the interesting part of this story is that once they are separated by the plague, their love was the most compassionate. This leads to an idea that can be broken down in 2 phases. Life is absurd, and we are not free. However, the most meaning we can get in a meaningless world is to oppose distress, pain, and death. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Subscribe, like, and share with Facebook friends.